Comprehensive plan update in the amount of $10,530. Comprehensive plan update, $6,487.50. Iowa Street stormwater wetlands, $31,004. General municipal engineering, $12,041. Violet Hill Cemetery management system, $1,186.50. Downtown improvements, $4,675. The grand total for all those items I just read is $244,406.59. Tonight, for claims, registers, and financials, we have $612,737.80. Tonight, we have no license or permits. I need a motion to approve all those consent agenda items I just went over.
One question that I had, we did not include the minutes of the last meeting.
Oh, that's a typo on my behalf. It should be May 2nd, not April 18th.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll change that right now.
I wonder.
correction. Okay. Motion to approve tonight's.
With that change, I make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you for
Yes, thank you.
making that change. Okay. Any discussion before we approve those? If not, call the roll, please.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Berkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to city administrators report.
Well, as you can see from the contract services, I did clean off my desk before I left last week and found a couple of bills. And Susie was happy about that. But last week I did have the opportunity to go to Washington, DC on the Greater Des Moines Partnerships DC trip. So I think about 180 or so of us got to go down, meet with all of our congressional delegation from Iowa. Had some really great meetings with their staff and learned a lot more about how to navigate working with their staff and things like that, as well as advocating for some of the projects going on in central Iowa and in Perry. So lots of good things happening there. Also, while I was gone, they did have the pre-construction meeting for the Bateman project. With their proposed construction schedule, that would be totally completed around November. So with good weather and things, we had scheduled that to be a two-year, construction season project, but they're wanting to come in and get it done. So that's great news. And as you can see, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm really excited about the airport runway bid. So lots of good stuff happening. Also a lot going on. So trying to keep everybody busy, and there's lots of balls up in the air, but keep it going. Does anybody have questions for me on anything? All right. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to mayor council comments. I have a couple of things tonight. First thing is a proclamation designating the week of May 15 to 21st, 2022 as National Police Week. It just so happens that this week is National Police Week, which I think is very appropriate after the incident of a week ago. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15 as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week. Whereas the officers of the Perry, Iowa Police Department play an important part in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of our community, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties and responsibilities of the police department to serve by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence or disorder, and provide vital public services. Now, therefore, I, John Endorf, Mayor of the City of Perry, Iowa, hereby do declare on this 16th day of May 2022 that the week of May 15 to 2022 is National Police Week, and furthermore, extend appreciation to Police Chief Eric Vaughn and the officers of the Perry Police Department for their vital services they provide and their dedication to the community they serve. I just thought that was so timely. And, you know, I want to, again, recognize the police and Chief Vaughn and thank the community and recognize the community for all the support that I think they've shown over the last week. Now's a good time to stop a policeman and personally and tell them that you appreciate their service. My next item is, this is also National Public Works Week. I want to recognize that too. It's timely that we recognize everyone involved in the planning, building, and management of infrastructure, and that keeps our cities running and every day and day in and day out. Public works employees play an important part in providing and maintaining infrastructure in our city and all cities to keep the city running. I want to recognize their dedication and hard work on taking care of our city of Ferry. The theme of this year's Public Works Week is being ready and resilient. I certainly think that's a requirement of anybody involved in public works. I think it's very fitting. Again, take time to recognize and thank our public works employees. Council?
I've got a few things. Just to look ahead, I went to the Dallas County Conservation Board meeting last week. They've got a $5.5 million grant to finish our bike trail. They're going to pour through Woodward this year. Next year, they're going to finish the whole thing between Perry and us. And thank God they're going to do that before I'm dead, so I can still ride it. But we've got a few things to think about. Signage. I met with Sherry Scheib, and she's always planning on a lot of neat things for Perry. It would be nice possibly to have under this solar panel right by the bridge, right by the bike trail, maybe a stage for bands to play on, keep people uptown. These are all pipe dreams, but it's something to think about. We'd really like to turn this little building here that's just next to the caboose into a public toilet. Dallas Center's got a wonderful public toilet there that was done by a grant. And we've got sewer there, we've got water there for the drinking fountains. We could easily, for a little bit of money, because it's got a roof on the whole thing, make that public toilet. That's something I'd like to have us think about, because everybody's asking, where can I stop and go? And I tell them, go down the hotel, go to the library. Well, they don't like doing that. They're not going to stop in and stay there. So that's something to plan on. Artwork on the trail, I think we need to have a big sign on 18th, directing people to Woodward, to the High Trestle Trail. And I'd like to see some kind of railroad sign there, maybe with solar lights on it, and maybe a little blue thing directing to the trail from there. Just a few things to think about. We'll have 2 years to get this ready, and then we're going to get a huge influx more people in town. So that's just a few things I had to throw around for you guys. But within 2 years, it's going to be a little bit bigger boom in town because of all the traffic we'll get through.
That'll be great. Thanks, Dean. Any other comments from council?
That's been a problem for a
Oh,
long time that we've had the trail.
in the dark, a lot of them go to the bathroom in there where that is anyway. It smells in there. And got hammer a little bit of that floor out and put a couple ladies' bath toilets and one man's, and all we have to do is finish out a couple of walls, and it just take a little bit of nothing to do. But
Come on, John.
John can have that finished in a week. The nice thing, the brick, the roof is all there, 3 walls are there, 2.5 walls. Make a nice little spot.
Something to think about. You're right. Anybody else for council comments? If not, open forum. As per usual, speakers will be asked to step up to the microphone and state their name and address for the record. Individuals speaking will be given 3 minutes to address council. Again, any topics related to, or any comments related to tonight's agenda or any other topic anybody wants to bring up, now is your opportunity. Anybody here at the meeting or on Zoom want to bring up anything for open forum?
Sergeant Jim Archer with the Perry Police Department. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the community for all their efforts they've put into the last week. We've been extremely fortunate. So it's really helps our boost our morale at our office. So we just want to thank the community for all their support, and city administration, city council, everybody's been great. So just talked to Eric a little bit ago. He's doing really well. So just want to pass that along as well. Unfortunately, he didn't get to go to Italy. Maybe a future trip. So I just wanted to thank everybody, and it sounds like they had a really good turnout down at Hy-Vee tonight as well. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for open forum? Looking like there's nobody else, we'll move on to public hearings. We have a few of them tonight. First one, public hearing on proposed contract documents and estimated costs for repair or improvement runway 1432nd relocation phase 2 and 3. The Ferry City Council will now hold a public hearing to consider the plans, specifications, proposed form of contract, and estimated total cost to relocate of runway 1432nd phase 2 and 3. Council will also receive and consider any objections to said plans, specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract made by any interested party. It's 6:15. This public hearing will now be open.
Yep, so this work is for the relocation of the runway. It'd be moving at 400 feet west, and it does include the paving and electrical work of the first 4,000 feet, as well as the additional full reconstruction of that 1,500 feet that we secured funding for. We opened up bids last Wednesday. We had 6 bidders show up. So really good turnout. It was really competitive. You'll see that in the bid prices. The low bidder went to Manats Incorporated at 16.1% lower than our estimate, which shows really well that all these contractors being really competitive, going to mob in a mobile plant, get this done yet. So, yeah.
Do you want to speak to the public hearing discussion? Send you everything else to add.
No,
Pretty much
I wasn't there for the bid opening, but did get a picture and danced a little jig down in Washington DC.
Is that what's happening? Yeah, DC, okay.
It's nice to see 16% below what we thought it'd be.
Yeah, Jacob and I were talking about that earlier, and it was probably a difficult one to estimate, because you have to estimate assuming that somebody's buying the concrete and having it delivered. But Manats is going to be able to bring a plant on site and make it right there. So that cuts a lot of that cost out, being able to kind of have that wholesale concrete, whereas you'll see those higher bidders probably are buying concrete from, the concrete supplier that they have to try to treat that.
Yeah, it was good to see 6 contractors sitting out of City Hall sharpening their pencils because they saw everybody keep pulling up. So it just shows that it's well publicized, and they were all wanting that work. So, yeah.
And I mean, it's 100 feet wide, 500 feet long, and 7 inches thick. So definitely a lot of concrete to want to put down, and
Yeah.
again, good competitive product. process. For the low, low price of $8 million.
Oh, no, Chris.
Yeah. Anything else for the public hearing? Jim?
So the engineer's estimate was $9,460,000, 762.5. And then the low bidder of Manats came in at $8,034,280.91. So it was 16.1% lower than engineer's estimate. And there's a full breakdown of all the bids in the packet.
Okay, anything else on this public hearing? If not, this public hearing will close at 6:19 PM. Next public hearing on the amendment to the current budget fiscal year 2022. The Ferry City Council will now hold a public hearing for the purpose of amending the current 2022 fiscal year budget. Residents and taxpayers of the city of Ferry interested in the fiscal year 2022 budget amendment will now have the opportunity to present to council objections or in favor to any part of the proposed amended budget. It's 6:20. This public hearing will now be open.
The budgeted revenues for fiscal year 2022 were $19,056,889. And we're going to amend that by $11,911,111. So it's a total of just under 31 million. Our budgeted expenditures for this current fiscal year, which is June 30th, $18,358,741. We're amending that by $11,226,087. So the total expenditures after the amendment is around $29.5 million. So of those, in the general fund is 592,000. It's not all operating expense. We have insurance reimbursements and pass-throughs in the amount of 177,000. We've also, in the general fund, what's going to be amended is 240,000 for owner-occupied exterior housing improvement grant. It's a CDBG, and also around 36,000 for grant-related pass-throughs that we've gotten through the year for like foundation expenses, the E911 grant. So that leaves $139,512. That's unbudgeted or under budgeted expenses this current fiscal year. So that's out of the $11-12 million that we're amending the budget, is like 1.2% is like operating expenses. Of that, 24,000 is for 2 new officers to go to the law enforcement academy and their startup costs, uniforms, you know, things like that. We've got $43,000 in additional utility costs. Utility costs in some city buildings really went up a lot over the winter, it was a cold winter. So 43,000 in additional utility costs, and the remaining 72,000 was mostly vehicle maintenance, fuel and oil, and some part-time wages. So for the revenues for the general fund, we anticipate that to offset the expenditures. We anticipate the revenues to increase by 630,000. Of that is the 240,000 for the owner-occupied CDBG for the housing grant. The pass-throughs for the insurance, the 143,000. We had 120,000 in state and federal COVID-19 funds, and then 40,000 in donations and private grants. We also had an increase in charges for services for street cuts. Extra garbage collection is just like skyrocketed. The red dumpsters are out all the time. People are getting those dumped additional times. Plus, like, we can hardly keep dumpsters in stock, the rental dumpsters in stock. Nuisance abatement, mowing, you know, charges, building permits, that's really increased. Cemetery lot sales, airport property revenues due to the expansion out there. Those are expected to make up the remainder of the increase. Other non-general fund revenue, COVID-19 related funds we received this fiscal year, it's around 580,000 in the like CARES Act grant and things like that. Other funds that will increase due to, from their budgeted amount, the revenues Road use tax will increase about 130,000. Local option sales tax, we estimate to receive over 2 million, and so those will increase. And also, we'll end it by talking about the capital expenditures. That's what the majority of this budget amendment is. So for regular capital expenditures, not sewer plant related, we're amending that by about 1.1 million. That's offset by the fund balances. They have the accounts from years previous, past GO bonds, because usually most of these projects don't neatly fit in one fiscal year. They take place over several fiscal years, and then grants. The wastewater treatment plant project, we're amending that by $8.5 million, and that's offset by the SRF loan draws and then the CDBG grant. And then there's interfund transfers, which have to be, but they're budgeted, and they need to be amended by around 500 million. And that is due to things we've talked about already, like the increase in the local option sales tax, which causes the 20% to go to the building maintenance fund to increase, different things like that. And the waterworks didn't need anything amended in their budget. And then I just wanted to remind everybody that this does not affect the levy rate. All the increased expenditures are offset by other increased revenues or fund balances.
Further questions or discussion?
Yeah, thank you.
This is a lot of detailed work, and just like the budget, Susie knocks it out of the park every year, so. Yeah.
I was gonna ask her if she could repeat it for us.
Probably.
Well, I have a 3-page memo that you can read.
Any other discussion?
A lot of that was, most of it was for the wastewater treatment plant. Because you really don't know how far they're gonna get on a project. We had budgeted we put in there like 2.5 million, but they're really moving fast, and we've had about 10 million in expenditures. So that's the majority of it. And then some of the other things, like the insurance reimbursements, the pass-throughs, we don't know, we're gonna get those during the year. Thanks.
Anything else for our public hearing on budget amendment? If not, it's 6:26 p.m. This public hearing is closed. Next public hearing on proposed development of agreement with KM Baxter Investments LLC. The Ferry City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive public comments on the action to approve a development agreement with KM Baxter Investments LLC in connection with the renovation and rehabilitation of an existing building in the Ferry Urban Renewal area for use in business operations of Acuja LLC. It is 6:27 p.m. We will now open this public hearing.
So both this item and the next one are on development agreements that will be a couple items down. So I don't know how much you want to get into it during the public hearing, or if you want more detail during the proposed approval. But this one is for the rehabilitation of the old Mark Seed building, both renovation and the small expansion of that, relocating a business just outside the city limits into city limits. And then I can just talk about the next one as well. That one, well, I'll wait just so that the minutes are right. I could see Liz.
Cringing.
So are you relocating all of your operations down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Easier to ride your bike to work.
Okay, any further discussion on this public hearing on the agreement with KM Baxter Investments? If not, it is 6:29, this public hearing is closed. Next public hearing on proposed development agreement with Simplify Commercial Solutions LLC. Perry City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive public comment on the action to approve a development agreement with Simplify Commercial Solutions LLC in connection with the construction of an industrial building in the Ferry urban renewal area for leasing by and use in the business operations of commercial/industrial enterprises. It is now 6:30. This public hearing is open.
So this one is a new development by Mr. and Mrs. Diaz, probably more Mrs. Diaz, right? But so this would be the first phase of hopefully a few phases of kind of speculative tenant-based commercial space. So looking at the first building on that property, this is also city-owned property. So part of the agreement is selling the property to the Diaz family to do this project on. So this is the lot right there, kind of on the east side of what would be Willis Avenue going into the industrial park. That was donated to the city a few years ago. So this is a great opportunity to get some development on that property. Did you want to add anything? There's also, we'll talk about it again too. So if there's any more specific questions.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Angelica Diaz Cardenas, and during the course of last year, while renovating our now home in the north side of town, we got to meet several contractors, local talent from Perry that have families. They've been here for a while, and they have the potential of growing their business, but they're lacking something like this infrastructure that my husband and I thought about. Like I said, they're local, and we see the potential and the professionalism that these gentlemen and ladies have. So that's why we are excited about this opportunity. Thank you. That will be a question for Eddie.
Is this something that we're building multiple?
So as Sven mentioned, it's phase one. It's speculative, so it's hard to say. We feel confident this one will be a good project, but any further project, we're just gonna have to make sure the numbers work out well. It's a 14,000 square foot facility. What's that?
A good size.
Yeah,
And starting at about 2,000 square foot base.
yeah, they're flex spaces, so they can grow bigger or smaller as needed, but 2,000 feet is what we think is the sweet spot for the demographic we're targeting. Yeah, metal, yeah, steel frame, yeah. All right, thank you.
Anything else for the public hearing? If not, it's 6:31 and this public hearing is now closed. We will move on to old business. Resolution approving the award for airport runway 1432 relocation phase 2 and 3. Bids were received, as we talked about earlier, for the airport runway 1432 relocation phase 2 and 3 at 11 a.m. on May 11th. 6 bids were received and all bidders were responsive. The engineer's estimate for the base bid of the project was $9,460,762.50. Bids are summarized below. Manette's Incorporated, Brooklyn, Iowa, in the amount of $8,004,080.91. Concrete Technologies, Grimes, Iowa, in the amount of $8,329,679.85. Elder Construction or Corporation, rather, Des Moines, Iowa, in the amount of $8,885,480. Next one is Cedar Valley Corporation, Waterloo, Iowa, the amount of $8,921,956.20. Goodperson Smith Construction Company out of Ida Grove, Iowa, $8,922,956.20. $189,628.30. Flynn Company, Dubuque, Iowa, in the amount of $9,512,000. $9,512,230.07. The bid received from Minutes Incorporated was 16.1% below the engineer's estimate, as we talked about earlier, for the project, and was determined to be the lowest responsible bidder. Bolton and Mink have reviewed the bid documents submitted and checked references on this bidder and was satisfied with the responses given. Bolton and Mink recommends award of the airport runway 1432nd relocation phase 2 and 3 to Minutes Incorporated for the bid amount of $8,034,280.91. This resolution would award the bid upon FAA concurrence. As Finn says, the tiny amount of $8 million. Need a motion?
I make a motion that we pass a resolution approving the award for Manats Incorporated.
Further discussion? Talked about this a little bit already.
That's a heck of a deal.
What, 12-year project in the works, finally approving the bid to do it, so.
Yes.
That's great. And the fact that it was 16% below, so, oh, whatever.
I have-
Get a free flight off this thing.
And I've been groveling for years, so I can't believe you cannot believe how many times I told the FAA it's for the children, so.
And just the fact that we got so many bidders too.
Yeah, yep, and you can tell it was a competitive project. I mean, it's kind of a shot all the way down the line to the low, so it's very encouraging to me. Hopefully, we see more of that competitiveness in the more projects we put out to bid.
What's our rationale or belief that we got so many bidders? Are they actually hungry for work?
Just,
or-
yeah, these are larger, some of these you would see on large interstate projects. So really companies that go after big projects. And this is a significant project in the, especially concrete construction world. So that's where you see a lot of these really large companies and aggressive bids. So. Good to see.
Any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Berkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Thank you. It's nice to see it move forward, as you say, and finally got to the point where we're doing the bid, so that's good.
Yep.
Resolution approving fiscal year 2022 budget amendment. With passage of this resolution, the fiscal year 2022 city budget will be amended and therefore directs the finance officer to submit said amendment as required by law to the Iowa Department of Management. The notice of the public hearing was published in the Ferry Chief on May 5, 2022 and held May 16, 2022. The budget amendment does not alter the tax levy rate. Need a motion, please?
I make. Was it me or you? I think I'm.
You go ahead.
Motion pass resolution approving the fiscal year 2022 budget amendment.
And I'll second that.
Further discussion on the budget amendment? We talked about it earlier, but if there's anything else, we'll listen.
Did you want to read your memo again?
No.
Yeah, would you?
Thank you, Susie, for all your hard work on that.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, call the roll, please.
Mahler,
Yes.
Berkland,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Okay, next item, resolution approving development agreement with KM Baxter Investments LLC authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. This action will allow the city to enter into a development agreement with KM Baxter Investments LLC. KM Baxter Investments LLC will be renovating an underutilized building for the purpose of relocating and expanding their business, Acuja, on the site. the aggregate total amount of payments under the development agreement shall not exceed $100,000 in incremental property tax payments and $30,000 in an economic development grant. Need a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution approving development agreement with KM Baxter Investments LLC, authorizing the annual appropriation tax payments and pledging certain tax increment.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Okay, I don't know how far you want me to go in depth, but obviously Mr. Baxter's here if there's any specific questions, but purchased the building in hopes to renovate it, to expand not only their current line of business, but add, you could say, a line of business, right? So with their new lining process, they're going to actually start putting the resin into the liner, which will help them do projects more efficiently and not have to order for specific projects so they can make exactly what they need. With that, they'll be not only renovating the building to make it fit their needs, adding on to it a little bit, but they're also going, their intent is, and we had with the labor market the way it is, their intent is to add a decent number of jobs from just kind of those lining technicians all the way up into office staff. So great opportunity for them to grow their staff, grow the size of their facility, and honestly, really fix up a building right next to the park. You know, tons of people are coming through there to get down to the ball fields and things. So it's a really great project to give a good facelift to that area of town. Again, add on to that building, renovate it, add some jobs. As part of the agreement, they'll also be bringing into city limits their current shop in the small house out in front. So that'll be in city limits on the tax rolls, and hopefully we'll get the opportunity to help get another business to town into that building or get somebody into there too. So
That's what I wasn't sure. So
Yep.
we're expanding our city limits to.
we will be. So that's kind of phase two. Once this is approved, we do have the signed annexation agreements, but once this is done, we'll start that process. And now Liz is well versed on how all of that works, and she'll have lots of fun going through that. So
That's it.
no, it's in Dallas.
It's in
So
Dallas.
yeah, I think the 40 around it is Boone County. So that the north end of that 40 would be Boone County. Yeah. So
Any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Always good to see businesses expanding and hiring more people. Sounds good. Next item, resolution approving development agreement with Simplify Commercial Solutions LLC, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. This action will allow the city to enter into a development agreement with Simplify Commercial Solutions LLC. Will be constructing a commercial building within the city industrial park to provide space rentable for contractors and other commercial or industrial users. The aggregate total amount of payments under the development agreement shall not exceed $185,000 in incremental property tax payments and $24,000 in an economic development grant. Need a motion, please?
I make a motion, we pass resolution approving development agreement with Simplify Commercial Solutions LLC, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? We've already had some.
So another really awesome project, new construction, which we heard a little bit about, but this is going to be out at the industrial park right on 141. So Part of it is that we've been working with Mr. Diaz on making sure that the facade is nice, especially facing 141 frontage is kind of that first blush into town. So again, excited. This is hopefully phase 1 of 3 or 4 to add some additional buildings out there. So honestly, this is a product that we really do not have in town for kind of that smaller contractor or person kind of just starting out that needs that kind of a space. So I've been kind of knocking on doors in the developer world for a while, trying to find somebody to come to town and build this. So it's fantastic that we have a local entrepreneur willing to go in and get it done. So
Any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Mahler.
Yes.
Schott.
Yeah.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you. Again, good to see another business moving out to our industrial park, which is a great area out there. Always good to see more growth out there. Okay, next item. Approval of pay application number 11 for the wastewater treatment facility improvements. Pay application number 11 in the amount of $882,387.46 to Woodruff Construction for the construction of the wastewater treatment facility improvements. To date, total payments requested by the contractor is 29.7% of the total amount of work to be completed under the contract. All documents have been reviewed and signed by the engineer and are recommended for approval. Motion, please.
I move that the pay application number.
Second.
Discussion.
we're 29.7% of the way there. Might be staying up here for a while. So just a quick update. You'll probably see if anybody stopped out there, there's a lot of walls being constructed. The pre-treatment building, the rapid mix, a couple of clarifiers, and then the clarifier pump room had walls done. They're working on structural steel in the stairs at the operations building. And then in the admin building, they're working on paint, backfilling the retaining wall, which looks really good if anybody has been out there. And then the biosolids tank is getting the asbestos taken care of there. As it says, we're 29.7 through the contract and about 35% through the contract time. So started out a little slower, but we're getting right back on track with some of these interior items and once all the concrete work's done. So
The concrete is done.
more concrete is done. There's still more to be done. It's not done. There's a lot more concrete. Nope. So it's gonna start moving along a little quicker now that some of this concrete work has moved on. So
And again, the whole project's supposed to be done about a year from this summer, is that right? Okay. Any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Walling.
Yes.
Mahler.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Schott.
yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, approval of change order number 1 for the airport runway 1430 seconds relocation phase 1. Change order number 1 is a result of combining some operations between phases of the airport work that required the addition of some storm sewer. This includes the cost of that storm sewer and the associated dirt work to go with it. The FAA has approved this and recommended to proceed with the work to keep the phases on time with each other. Change order number 1 in the amount of $32,200 is qualified under the fully funded FAA grant. Need a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve change order number 1 for the airport runway 1432 relocation phase 1.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Yep, so this work with kind of the grants and what we've secured and kind of the breakdown of it is to do the temporary piping for the stockpile of excavation, just kind of rolling from one into the next. So it's kind of as the projects and granting came in, that's where they stockpiled it and they have little storm sewer just to make sure there's no issues on the site. So
further discussion? If there's none, call the roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Walling. Yes. Schott,
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, resolution approving work order number 9, scope of work, runway 14.3 seconds, 1500 relocation and extension phase 2. This resolution would approve work order number 9 upon FAA concurrences, approving Bateman Inc. to provide the city of Ferry complete construction and grant administration services required for the construction of relocation and extension of runway 14.3 seconds to 5,500 feet. Services described in work order number 9 shall not exceed $325,910. Funding participation for this will be funded 90% with federal funding and 10% with local funding. This resolution would also authorize the mayor to sign work order number 9, accepting the terms as defined, again, upon concurrence with the FAA. Need a motion, please.
Scope of work.
Second.
Discussion?
Yep, so again, this one's kind of breaking down the phasing of the grants as they're coming in. To match up with the FAA, our contracts will come right behind them in those same sequences. So this is for phase 2, which is the 4,000 feet of runway. And then there will be eventually a phase 3, just so the FAA has the check boxes to match up with how their grant applications and everything.
Okay, any further discussion or questions?
And a little bit of that, since there's different pots of money, that the 4,000 feet and the land acquisition for the extension, and then the dirt work and paving for the extension, they're coming out of different pots of money under one bid that we did, sans the land acquisition. So we will have to do a little bit of this, of keeping track of a little bit of things differently than we would on a typical project. But we're okay with that because the project's gonna get done and then I can sleep a full night, maybe.
Okay. Any other discussion on this work order?
As long as the money pots are there.
They are.
If there's no further discussion, call the roll, please.
Walling,
Yes.
Mahler.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes old business. We'll now move on to new business. First item, resolution approving a plat of survey and combining with an existing plat. This plat of survey creates parcel 22-49 from land currently part of parcel 20-27 in area south of North Street, abutting to Kimball Street and north of Hiawatha Street. Once created, parcel 22-49 will be combined with parcel 19-80, commonly known as 1610 16th Street. This process allows the owner of parcel 20-27 to sell and convey the land within parcel 22-49 to the owner of parcel 19-80. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on May 10, 2022 and recommended approval by council. A map better detailing the current parcels was included in the council packet. Need a motion, please?
I make a motion, we pass a resolution approving a plat survey and combining with an existing plat.
I'll second.
Discussion.
What's the intention of this piece?
So the way I understand it, and you can kind of see it on the map, and if Daniel wants to take it, he sure can. Looks like he wants to take it. Daniel Van Hollen will be answering your question.
So this is kind of a rubber stamp on our end. The current owner of that little chunk of land is sawing that off to sell it to their neighbor. But because it does require a plat, it does have to go through the city. So it's really just real estate transaction, and we're just an extra hoop they have to jump through for legal technicalities. So there's no real grand ambition. I know with all the 22-47, it sounds a little bit more complex than it really is, but there's selling property.
The house that's existing there
Mhm.
is part of this transaction.
The house that's existing there is the parcel that is purchasing the chunk. So it'll be getting a little bigger once they're combined.
So they're going all the way up to North Street.
No, there's the beginnings of a subdivision there. So they're just getting a chunk of land that's not part of that subdivision.
Okay, so it's the triangular.
Yeah, kind of a little lip that it is just kind of, it juts off of the Van Kirk property into just north of theirs, and they're just buying that.
And it goes all the way out to 18.
No, it's kind of jagged, a little jigsaw parcel there, but
I think it's really just a little finger.
yeah,
of
it's,
the Van Kirk shed property
Okay.
that when they platted those lots, it was a straight line across and down that just left this odd little piece. So I think they're just cutting off that finger and selling it to the Grims. So
I wasn't sure on the way that it was mapped. Exactly. what part.
yeah, it's a bit of an oddity, but like I said, it's really just a transactional procedure on our end.
Well, follow the river.
more or less.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that plat? If not, call the roll, please.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Next item, under new business, resolution approving a site plan for phase 1 of the Perry Economic Development spec building. Perry Economic Development, Inc. will be constructing a new spec building in the industrial park. Before a building permit may be issued, a site plan must be submitted and approved. Perry Economic Development, Inc. has submitted a site plan for the spec building to the city, and staff forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The plan was reviewed at the May 10th, 2022 meeting, where the commission voted to recommend approval to council. Need a motion, please?
I move the approval of resolution approving the site plan for phase 1 of the Perry Economic Development spec building.
Discussion.
So
We're building 2 buildings.
a lot of stuff's going on right now. So Perry Economic Development is doing another 30,000 square foot shell building out at the industrial park, right across the street from the last one they did that TCB Corporate Wearables moved into. So this was part of the platting we did at the last meeting. This is just the site plan for, we're calling it phase 1 because it doesn't have, a parking lot and permanent driveway entrance and things like that. So it's kind of a temporary site plan, if you will, or one that will be changed based on the final user and final purchaser. So.
It kind of looks like there's a lot of grading involved. And grading.
There was a decent amount of grading, which the grading is already done. And then the drainage goes into that detention pond just to the north of this lot. So detention's already taken care of, so that's nice. But there is a decent drop off there. You can go out and see the pad is done. I think steel gets dropped off tomorrow, I believe. So they'll start digging footings tomorrow once building permit is issued, and they'll get going. So probably by the end of the month, you might see some steel being put up, but certainly during June, I think. And hopefully July, August, it's completed and they're moving on. So.
Sounds good. Any further discussion before we call the roll? If not, call the roll, please.
Schott,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Next item, resolution approving a professional services agreement with Acuja LLC for the 2022 spring SIP sanitary sewer project. This contract is for cured in-place pipe SIP lining of approximately 4,300 linear feet of existing 8-inch sanitary sewer. Through previous phases of sanitary sewer cleaning, Acuja and the city have identified the areas shown on the map attached to the professional services agreement as needing SIP lining. The city is looking to do a multi-phase approach addressing areas of town that would benefit from the SIP lining most. The lining is to maintain integrity of the sanitary sewer piping while eliminating inflow and infiltration on the overall system. This professional service agreement would be for a cost not to exceed $139,000 per the 2021 terms and conditions in the agreement for professional services for sewer maintenance services with Acuja LLC. Need a motion, please?
Make a motion to pass a resolution approving sanitary sewer project.
I'll second that.
So gonna get it cleaned up. Threw me off there, which is hard to do. So yes, as you can see from the map, these are all areas that are normally bothersome for us when we're either trying to clean jet or during heavy rains, or when it's dry, tree roots. So kind of a combination of all that. So it'll be great to get some of these areas done. Should really help with some of that I&I in heavy flows, and as well as keeping some tree roots out of some of our pipes, which we do have a lot of issues with. So I think we haven't, but we should send the camera up on 30th and 31st where we line to, have we done that? Okay. So we'll do that, but we haven't gotten, I don't think, any complaints really up in that area about tree roots, because that was a very common area that tree roots would come in. So it definitely helps out. And again, we're lucky to have a good local contractor that we can work with to get this done. So, and they cut us a heck of a deal.
Mobilization is pretty short.
That's right. He'll be able to ride his bike to the job sites.
Any further discussion on SIP? If not, call the roll, please.
Walling.
Yes.
Mahler.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, resolution naming depositories and designating and authorizing officials to conduct bank business. Per chapter 12C of the Code of Iowa, City Council by resolution shall designate the official depositories for city funds by naming each depository and specifying the maximum amount which may be kept on deposit in each. With the upcoming merge of Great Western with First Interstate Bank, an update is needed. This resolution would approve the updated depositories, maximum deposits, and authorizing officials to conduct bank business. Need a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution naming depositories and designating and authorizing officials to conduct bank business.
I'll second that.
So we have 4 depositories. We have operating accounts at Wells Fargo and Rapid Valley Bank. We also have CDs at Rapid Valley Bank and savings accounts at both Wells Fargo and Rapid Valley Bank. What we had at Great Western, now it'll be First Interstate. It's just a couple other CDs out there. And then the 4th depository, which we don't ever use, but we list it just in case, is IPATE. It's Iowa Public Agency Investment Trust. A lot of times smaller communities use that to invest in, like with CDs, because maybe they don't have like local banks, but usually, especially at like Raccoon Valley Bank and Great Western, we can get really good CD rates. We don't invest CDs with Wells Fargo because they don't keep them. Those are like invested out of state, the CDs, so we can't invest any CDs. But everything else is fine.
Okay, any further discussion on the bank business? If not, call the roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Walling, Schott.
Yes.
Next item, resolution approving a professional services agreement with Bolton Mink for the Frog Creek Stream Restoration, Phase 1. Bolton and Mink has submitted a professional services agreement for the Frog Creek Stream Restoration Phase 1. This agreement would provide services for the project with a scope of work to include project management, coordination, topographic survey, boundary survey, preliminary and final design, wetland delineation, permitting and bidding phase. The professional services agreement would be for a cost not to exceed $79,351 without prior approval per the 2022 Bolton and Mink rate schedule. Motion, please.
I make a motion to pass a resolution approving a professional service agreement with Bolton and Mink for the Frog Creek Stream Restoration Phase 1.
I'll second that.
So this is obviously the professional services agreement for the Frog Creek project. We received a grant for this in the amount of $500,000, and we're going to put it in some of our stormwater funds. So it should be a great project. Reduce erosion in that area, hopefully slow some of that water down as it's coming through, and grade out the banks so that they're maintainable and so that people can actually kind of get down in the creek a little bit easier. Back when I was a kid, we always loved to play in Frog Creek, so hopefully restoring some of that accessibility to explore the creek.
Now, this basically goes from Lewis.
Pretty much all the way down to 141. So quite a bit of work, some stabilization in areas that have bad erosion, and then restoration in areas that we can more so feather out. It helps create more volume in the stream bed. So when there is flooding, not that that really gets out of its banks, but it will be able to kind of hold more so that it isn't quite as fast. You said it perfect. Anything you'd like to add?
That was oh, there's concepts in there that kind of show some of the measures that we'll be implementing. So take a look at those. It's kind of preventing some of the erosion that's currently out there or future erosion, setting it up for a long life. So
Doesn't this one also fall under the category of something we needed to do and wanted to do for some time as well?
Yep, it's been on some of our lists, and this was one of our SRF sponsored project funding projects. So we were able to actually get other money to do this project instead of using our sponsored project dollars. So we'll be able to use those elsewhere, sort of like what we did out at the Iowa Street project as well. We got a $250,000 grant out there for that. So really bringing in money to offset some of those projects and get some of this stuff done.
it'll be a quick turnaround.
Yeah, so hopefully bidding for the design now, bidding this summer, fall construction.
Very quick.
Sounds good. Any further discussion?
Getting stuff done, right, Barb?
Getting stuff done.
Uh-huh.
We'll make Frog Creek more accessible. It's done.
That's right.
Sounds good. There's no further discussion. Call the roll, please.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Mahler.
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is ordinances. Ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 99, Sewer Services Charges. The current rate chart for sewer services was adopted by resolution will end on the July 2022 billing. It's been determined that when establishing new rates, the action should be done by ordinance. New rates are needed to be established to reflect the current debt liability for the sewer facility. This ordinance would set the new rates starting fiscal year 2023, going through fiscal year 2026. The first reading was held on April 18, 2022, and was carried unanimously by the council. The second reading was held on May 2, 2022, and was carried unanimously by the council. This is the third reading, third and final reading. I need a motion, please.
I would make a motion, we pass ordinance amending the code of ordinance, chapter 99, sewer service charges.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
We've been over this a lot, but obviously paying for the wastewater treatment plant as well as setting ourselves up to be in a pretty good financial position to be able to take care of some projects with our collection systems, such as our lining projects that we have coming up, as well as making sure that we have some room for adjustments and operation costs if needed as well. So not the fun part of that project, but the necessary part to get us on track to where we need to be able to get the project done.
Any further discussion before we call the roll? If not, call the roll, please.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Thank you. For tonight's meeting, we have one other item listed on our agenda under other business. That is a closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5, parens 1, parens C. Again, we'll go to closed session.
Oh, we need a motion and a second to move to closed
I
session.
need a motion to go into closed session.
I move we go to closed session.
Discussion on going into closed session. Not call the roll, please.
Schott,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Berkland,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
We will go into closed session momentarily, and then we reconvene. The only item under our agenda to when we reconvene is adjournment.
Walling.
Call the roll, please. Yeah.
Walling. Yes. Mahler.
Yes.
Berkland.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
And Klein.
Yes.
Having no, we are now back in regular session, rather having no other business before us. We stand adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Thank you, everyone.